I'd like to welcome you to this edition of EMU Today. We are so glad that you joined us. Just sit back and relax and enjoy the conversation. Today we're going to focus on Eastern Michigan University alums. Sarah Potaracki, my co-host, how are you?
I'm doing great today. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you very much. And that's going to be an exciting show. We're going to be talking to people who've gone to Eastern Michigan University.
Including someone who's in the field I would like to go into, so I'm really excited about that.
Outstanding. So we're so glad that you came back to join us. I say that every single time. But I'm so pleased to welcome with us today Ms. Blaire Miller. And Blaire is a 1983 alum of Eastern Michigan University. She has a BBA in International Business, a BA in Language International Trade, International, and she's a partner and a co-owner of the Hunter Group here in Metro Detroit. Blaire, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Sarah. Pleasure to be here today.
Good, good. So tell us, you went to Eastern Michigan, right? And why did you decide to go to Eastern Michigan University?
Well, I was an exchange student after high school with the American Field Service Program in Belgrade, former Yugoslavia, now Serbia. And I received a postcard from my mother, who had heard about a new and innovative program called the Language International Trade Program at Eastern. And I really knew that I wanted to go into international business, but at that time, there really wasn't any undergraduate programs that really specifically dealt with developing your skills for international business, a business language skill, knowledge about the history and political geographic regions of the world. And so I was really excited when I saw that Eastern was starting this innovative program. So when I came back home after my year in Belgrade, I explored the opportunity with the starting and founding professors of this program, who were fantastic and quickly wooed me to the program. And because I was paying my way through school on my own, were really able to offer me a wonderful scholarship package. So I received for 4 years the Regent Scholarship.
That's outstanding. So you came to Eastern, and what were some of the benefits of being a student here before you got into your career? We'll get into your career shortly, but talk to us about some of the benefits of being a student here at Eastern Michigan.
Well, what I love and still love about Eastern is the fact that you really get to know your professors. You have smaller class size, no teaching assistants, and that relationship really bore incredible fruit for me. First of all, they wrote numerous scholarship recommendations to help me go overseas during my college programming. And then they helped me find my first job, which was an international analyst at the former Manufacturers Bank, now Comerica Bank, where I spent 20 years in global banking. So I owe everything to the relationships that I had with the professors. I even had a work-study program in addition to working as a waitress at Ganny Dancer. They helped me get that job. So I will always be very proud of what I received and very appreciative of what I received here at Eastern.
And over the years, you have also been engaged with the College of Business and other universities here. You've been on the advisory board, so talk to us about that relationship of becoming an advisory board member and how that's gotten you re-engaged with the university as well.
Well, what I like about being an advisory board member is that you have a chance to really connect the university with business and really what are the needs of the hiring businesses in the community here in the region and across the United States. So I really appreciate always being queried about what are the skills, not just the technical skills that you may need in business, but also the qualitative skills in terms of team building. And a lot of the feedback that we've given over the years has really found its way into the programming and the curricula of the various professors, particularly these team building components and I would say presentation skills and other things that we felt were very critical for success in the business workplace today.
And speaking of the workplace today, is you currently are a partner with the Hunter Group out of Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, which is an executive search firm. I know Sarah's curious about this because you're a recruiter, you're an executive search firm, you help corporations find people for certain positions and vice versa. How did you get into that field? And I know that Sarah's going to have a couple of follow-up questions, but talk to us about the Hunter Group and what the organization does, and how did you end up over there?
Well, thank you, Mark. I'd be happy to. The Hunter Group, established more than 22 years ago here in Bloomfield Hills, really works across the country to find C-suite executives. So that would be the CEO, CFO. In fact, we found the CFO for Eastern Michigan, Mike Valdez, a couple of years ago. And so we're very pleased to support our community and our clients in finding really top talent. But we also have a couple other companies, and second one works with mid-level professionals, and a third one for university recruiting. So it's really a great pleasure to recruit from Eastern. I believe Eastern gives amazing candidates and really provides the foundation for these candidates as they come through. And I believe a couple unique elements. One is there is the scrappy factor. So many students work their way through school. They really are many times first generation coming into college. And there is a maturity, and there is a can-do and, you know, kind of make it happen approach to the students that I really love when I'm interviewing. And so, yeah, obviously, I am more than happy to recruit from Eastern and alumni of Eastern as we go through. I'm involved in all of the alumni networks and send out messages about looking for particular talent. So, yeah, it's my way of giving back to Eastern and the alumni and future alumni of the university.
That's lovely. As someone for whom graduation is looming, I was wondering, like, what kind of attributes do you look for when you're recruiting people from Eastern?
I first look at the passion and the positivity, and as I said, that can-do attitude. Sometimes we get that feeling that people think they'll be president, you know, within 6 months, and so the ability to really learn and understand that you've got this amazing foundation. You've been able to kind of make a lot of mistakes along the way through your educational process. It's really a learning environment to do that, but there's still now the beginning of the next phase of learning that goes on, and our professional development learning lasts our whole careers. One of the things I love still in my job is that I'm learning something new every day. So I really believe it's that passion to learn from the beginning, understanding that it could take a few years before you really add significant value to the organization. They're really investing in you from the start. So we want that positivity as you go into that position.
We know that we have other people watching this broadcast beyond Eastern Michigan. And we appreciate everyone watching EMU Today. Thank you very much. But if you're talking to a high school student right now, and they're watching, you know, listening, and a collegiate, but let's focus on a high school student. What would you tell the high school student getting ready to go to college? What should they focus on as they're starting their academic career? And then forward to the graduating senior, you just alluded to it, in terms of what they should focus on from an interviewing standpoint. So really two different questions in that question.
Absolutely. I'll start with the high schoolers. First of all, with the cost of college today, I think it's really important to get the best value you can. Eastern has an amazing value proposition. It's a great value, innovative programming, jobs that, you know, programs and majors that will actually give you a job at the end of the day. And so I really believe that there's a great payback for studying at Eastern, because I believe Eastern's been always very good at finding those programs that are unique and that are in high demand. And my own degree was a great example of that, but many, many examples across the campus for Eastern. So you want a good payback, and you want to get out of school without a lot of student loans, right? Because those beginning jobs can range from $35,000 to $70,000, and so a payback with $100,000 debt takes a very, very long time, and I hate to see anyone saddled with that kind of debt. Secondly, once you're in college, then obviously doing internships and making sure that what you're studying you're actually going to enjoy, because you can have great professors that make things interesting, but maybe it's not what you want to do as your first job. And I guess the last point is really know that you're going to take a lot of different forks in the road during your career. I've done 3 or 4 different types of major jobs in my career, and it's all fun, and they all build on themselves, right, Mark?
They are, and as students are beginning to graduate, what advice would you give to them with respect to interviewing skills? What should they be looking for? We know Society's become much more casual, a little bit more laid back, but as someone you always recruiting, interviewing people, what are the key characteristics of an effective interviewer?
Well, I've just been going through this with my own college senior, and as she started interviewing, we worked together of really building sound bites. So you think about different examples on a variety of examples from your classes, from your extracurricular activities, any internships you've done, and what you're trying to do is tell them different experience of perseverance, of how you built something, of leadership, of failure. You know, these are all great stories, and you have to make them practiced and in short amounts, just like on TV. They're good little sound bites that you pick and choose from during the interviewing process. And if you have that variety, you'll find that something really resonates in that conversation.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering, as someone who I'm looking at finding a job as this big daunting task, and I'm like, someone give me some advice, some hope. What is like the number one thing you would say to someone who comes to you and says, please help, I'm scared?
Yes, it is daunting, and it's also humbling. You know, you're going to get a lot of no's as you go through this. I think when my handwritten, typed resumes of yonder years,
Just a couple years ago.
a couple years ago, I think I got maybe 2 callbacks from 100 resumes sent out. So I will just say it's a numbers game. So you have to get your resume out. You have to apply online as much as possible, but use your network of friends, family, and professors. They're going to really help you find and introduce you and give you that extra comment of getting you over the top vis-a-vis other competition that's out there for the same job.
In our closing seconds together, great advice. We're running out of time, but quickly, what is the website for the Hunter Group?
It is huntergroup.com, and we welcome you to visit us and help us. We'll be pleased to help you with any of your talent needs.
Find it helpful?
Definitely.
Good.
Very much.
Blaire Miller, we want to thank you very much for coming in and just sharing that information.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Sarah.
We're going to continue our conversation with other EMU alums with Miss Derica Bennett, and she's interviewing Ryan Woolley, who's a sports anchor for WWJ Newsradio 950 in Detroit.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Derica Bennett reporting for EMU Today, and today we'll be sitting with Ryan Woolley, a 2007 EMU alumni. Today he'll be discussing with us about his career as a sports radio personality, reporter, and anchor.
After I graduated from Eastern Michigan, which was in 2007, I was actually interning at a sports station the summer before. So it was 1270 AM WXYT, and my senior year, I was working for 89.1 WEMU as a sports anchor. So the program director at 1270 AM heard me on WEMU and contacted me around March, end of April, and right before I graduated, went in for some interviews, some auditions, and then right after I graduated, they started either April 30th or May 1st. So I am still with them. That's actually my main job right now. I work for 97.1 The Ticket, WXYT, because 1270 became 97.1, and then WWJ Newsradio 950. However, it's no longer CBS radio. They just sold off the radio division, so it's now Intercom Radio. I arrive at 11 o'clock Monday through Friday. I don't start on air until 12:15, so 11 to 12:15 is a floating hour for me. It's really my prep hour. And going into the day, you kind of know what you can talk about. When stories start to break, whether it be local, like with the Michigan State scandal, or teams, firing head coaches, NCAA violations, then your sportscasts start to change. So what I actually write at the beginning of the day changes so much throughout the day that it's not even close to what I had started with earlier in the day. And I'll write 6 updates for 2 different stations, and I rotate them. And then in between the updates, sometimes I'll have interviews that I have to do and then cut those up. Sometimes there's press conferences that I have to roll on, cut all those up. And then we also are part of the Michigan News Network, which goes across the state of Michigan, and I have to upload audio files so that other sports anchors from across the state can access our information. So I've been with ESPN now 3 years. It came to me as an opportunity from Greg Steiner here at Eastern Michigan because I had broadcasted the basketball team for 89.1 WEMU for 3 years after I graduated. But being on the road with the basketball team sometimes 3 days a week, it took away from my day-to-day job, and I had to make a choice. So I stepped away from the radio. He brought me back to do Eagle All Access, which was a paid subscription service for basketball. And then when ESPN3 was getting ready to come on board, Greg told me, he's like, hey, this might be coming. We want you to be our play-by-play voice. So I came in, I believe it was the 15-16 basketball season. So my main job is I'm the play-by-play voice for both Eastern Michigan men's and women's basketball. And on my end, all the preparation goes in, building charts, making sure that I know what I'm going to hit key points throughout the game, because you're telling more than just the game, you're telling a story within the game. My main interest in how I got into sports broadcasting is actually kind of a funny story. I wanted to be a professional wrestler. My last name is Woolley, so I wanted to be the Woolly Mammoth. And yeah, I know. But I wanted to be the Woolly Mammoth, and I realized that, you know what, I didn't have the physique for it. I didn't want to be on the road 300 plus days a year. And I'm like, well, maybe I'll become a wrestling announcer. And then I kind of changed it to, you're already going from hard enough field and broadcasting to wrestling announcing, so what about sports broadcasting? And so I just kind of took that avenue towards sportscasting, and it was all because of professional wrestling. My DJ company, it's named Mammoth Entertainment, so it plays off the name Woolly Mammoth. It's a way to keep the Woolly Mammoth moniker alive. So, ETV was huge in my development. I can't say enough about ETV and Keith Dameron and John Cooper and Jeff Hamill and everybody that just had a hand in grooming me, because it's kind of an untapped potential here at Eastern. And I saw it right away my freshman year. Freshman year, they were starting up Eastern Weekly, and I immediately wanted to be a part of it. And I wanted to be a news anchor, just kind of get that experience. And I remember I told Keith Dameron that, and he told me, he's like, well, you know, come on out, you know, maybe we can find a place for you on the crew, you know, get your feet wet. Thankfully, Keith saw something in me during the production classes when I was asked to be talent on a couple pieces, and asked if I was still interested in being a news anchor. And so I got involved with Eastern Weekly, and then there was two other guys that were students, Giacomo Accardo and Josh Newkirk. We all were kind of a brainchild for a sports show. And so we came up with the ESR, Eastern Sports Reporters. I was kind of like just the moderator, and they were the two hosts at the time. And then when they graduated, my junior year, I took it over, and I wanted to expand and bring people in. So it was more than just the three of us talking heads. I had like 7 people on the show where we actually had insiders. So I just was heavily involved with ETV, and then I came out and did play-by-play for the basketball teams. The biggest advice I can give anybody is be patient. And the other thing is, don't give up on your dream. You know, it's not going to be easy. You know, people think that, you know, I'm going to graduate college and I'm just going to get a job making 6 figures and, you know, be, you know, a national sports broadcaster or journalist or TV anchor. More than likely that's not going to happen. You're going to start low, and that's fine. You know, get in somewhere and prove yourself.
And once again, that was Ryan Woolley, a 2007 EMU graduate. I'm Derica Bennett, reporting for EMU Today. Back to you.
Thank you, Derica Bennett. That was really fascinating. Ryan Woolley, another Eastern Michigan alum, and today's show is focused on our alums. What do you think?
I really like that, especially knowing some of the people who are active over at ESPN3 who work with him. He seems like an awesome guy.
And you do some other things here at Eastern Michigan through TV, right? Aren't you involved in some other things doing broadcast?
Yes, I am on the board for ETV, and then I'm also an anchor on eWeekly, and then I work with the Film Club and other assorted film-related activities.
Well, speaking of film and broadcasting, we have a broadcaster here with us, another EMU alum. What do you think about that? That's pretty cool.
I'm excited about it.
All right, so let's jump right into it. Mr. Josh Landon from
Yes, sir.
FOX2 News here in Detroit, the Detroit area. You graduated from Eastern Michigan back in
2006.
Thank you, 20. See, that's me, 19. See, 2006, right? And you are a broadcaster. You graduated in 2006. Well, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure. Happy to be here.
And of course, so you do not need to adjust your TV stations. We know he's on FOX2 News. He's right here.
Early in the morning.
Early in the morning.
Yep, Monday through Friday, 4:30.
Talk to us about your background. You're from Detroit. I know you're from the East Side. You love the TV space, and you're basically living your dream back in your hometown. How did you get there?
It is a dream come true to be back in my hometown, Mark. It started as a kid, believe it or not. My mother used to make me watch the local news as a kid, 5, 6 years old. Josh, know what's going on around you. And I just looked at Diana Lewis and Huel Perkins. I mean, these people were just stars in my eyes, sophisticated, professional. You just looked up to them. And so it started with me doing an internship at WXYZ Channel 7 back in 2004.
Sure.
I was working the morning shift, 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. while I was here at EMU. So I did the internship that summer, and then while I was interning at Channel 7, I ran into Diana one day. She had never met me before. I was on one end of the newsroom, she was on the other end, and she noticed me. I was just a 20-year-old kid, goatee, baggy dress shirt, walking around the newsroom, wanted to be a part of that one day.
Diana Lewis, the legendary
Diana Lewis saw me from across the newsroom, noticed me, walked up to me, and said, "What's your name? Tell me about you." I'm nervous at the time. I'm stumbling over my words. And what she said to me, "I like how you look and I like how you sound. Do it from the heart."
Really?
Really.
Oh.
And
Yes.
that was the advice.
That was her advice. First interaction.
So now, as going through your background, Detroit's a major market.
It
It's
is.
one of the largest markets in the country.
Top 20.
Top 20, top 15 market.
Top 15.
How did you get into the Detroit market? I know she's from Wisconsin. I think I heard Wisconsin in the background. So
Yes.
talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I was working in Milwaukee. I was co-anchoring my station's 9 p.m. newscast and a night side reporter. I reached out to Hugh Perkins. I had never met him before. I emailed him. I said, Hugh, I'm Josh. I'm from Detroit. I'm working in Milwaukee. I've worked in Richmond. I've worked in Miami, X, Y, and Z. I want to get back home. Please take a look at my work and give me some advice. Critique me. Give me feedback. He got back to me a few months later. His email said, I've looked at your work and you should apply to every single station in town.
That's you.
That is Hugh.
That is Hugh.
That is Hugh. I call him the Godfather. So we didn't have any conversations after that until I had my interview at FOX2. And while I was interviewing with my boss now, I saw Hugh come in. I said, can you walk me over there? I want to just thank him for encouraging me to pursue this. So I walked over to Hugh, and before I can even really get a sentence out, he said, let's go for a walk. He walked me back into my boss's office, and he said, I think he's got it.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And my boss was saying, yeah, you know, he has some versatility, some range, you know, some things. We're taking a good look at him. Hugh said, I think he's got it. That's it, and walked out.
I will tell you on a personal side, I have been on FOX2 News. I'm on periodically, and Hugh, that's who Hugh is. And I reached out to him, and you know, periodically I'm on a program called Let It Rip.
I think I've heard about that program once or twice.
But he is genuine, and he really takes an interest, I think, in young people and really helping people to get to the next level.
Absolutely.
And I know that you have an interest in this field, so I'm going to give you an opportunity to ask Josh a couple questions. Absolutely.
Ask away.
From my understanding, you didn't start off here in the same major I'm in right now.
No. So after I did my internship at Channel 7 in 2004, I did a second internship at WLNS in Lansing while I was still a student here. So I was a full-time student, a resident advisor, and I was interning in Lansing on the weekends. And during that internship, I got a weekend job as a newsroom assistant working behind the scenes. So I was doing all three up until I graduated, and that turned into a reporting job in Lansing. So I stayed in Lansing for all of 3 years. Then I moved to Florida, worked in Fort Myers, did a little bit of freelancing in Miami. Then I spent 4 years in Richmond, Virginia, where I started anchoring along with reporting. And then after that, I worked in Milwaukee for 1.5 years, and now I'm back home in Detroit.
So it's not like you can go from a certain city and then jump into a Detroit market, a Chicago, or a Philadelphia.
It's not advised.
It's not advised.
Because as you said, this is a top market where you have breaking news all the time. You need to be polished and ready to go. You need to have a foundation where you can build upon that and still improve your craft. You don't want to come into a major market as a rookie. You won't really flourish. You just get stuck in a hole at best. That's very risky. Yeah, you really want to pay your dues and improve your craft, grow your craft. So to you, I would advise a Lansing, a Traverse City, maybe a Flint, maybe, to start off as your first job, and then continue on from there.
Awesome. So when you were here and part of the EMFS program, what did you do around campus? Like, were there any clubs that you were active in?
Honestly, I'll be honest, no, because I didn't have time.
Yeah.
I didn't have time because I was a full-time student. I was a resident advisor. I did Eastern Reporter here with Ryan Woolley, and I was working in Lansing. I mean, I was super busy. I didn't have the luxury of joining clubs, but I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be a broadcaster. So I laser focused on the things I needed to do to get there. And I had a job before I graduated.
But you were a part of ETV, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as clubs on campus, organizations, I just didn't have time. I wanted to pledge.
Yep.
But I lost that window of opportunity maybe after my sophomore year.
Sure.
Because it was guns blazing.
Yeah, and I think one of the things about Eastern Michigan, and it's you make a good point, he mentioned Ryan Woolley and ETV. There's a wonderful network here. Even after you graduate, how we become connected,
Yes.
and people keep in touch with each other. And I think we saw that in the first segment with Blaire Miller and of course Ryan Woolley. There's that strong connection. Talk to Sarah and other people watching about the power of that Eastern Michigan network and just the power of the network in general.
I mean, you have so many people who went to school here who are doing very well in their profession, and you really have to capitalize on that. Once we're done with this broadcast, you should get my information to talk to me about an internship at FOX2.
Absolutely.
I would love
To
that.
pursue your dreams. You should really think about where you want to go with this. What do you want to do after you graduate? Where do you want to start? Where do you want to end up? Coming back home was always part of my plan, but I knew I had to take certain steps to get there. So you really have to have a plan. Will that plan always go as planned? Of course not. But you need to have a vision on where you want to go with this. There are going to be bumps along the way, absolutely. But if you know where you're going with it, and if you stay true to who you are and use that network, it's all about who you know as well.
That's exactly right.
What you know and who you know.
Well, and I think, and I want to reference, I know Derica Bennett, who did the segment before, and she's also instrumental in this program. I remember when we started EMU Today, we actually went through the auditions. And I remember asking Derica a question. This is the question I asked her. She has no idea I'm going to share this story, but that's okay. I'm the host and I can share it.
Yes, you
and I said, what would you like to do? She says, well, you know, I'm from Detroit. And she says, I would love to be a reporter in Detroit. And I would love to be a reporter at one of the major stations in downtown Detroit or in the metropolitan Detroit area. And now she's a reporter for EMU Today, getting great exposure and getting an opportunity to meet people like you and Blair and Sarah and other individuals. So here's another example of a student who living in Detroit and from the metropolitan area, a student here in Eastern Michigan, has an opportunity to potentially live her dream as well. You know, give us your perspective in the closing couple minutes of other things that are important to you that you might be looking for from Josh.
What's really amazing to me right now is the fact that you and I have sat at the same desk. Like you were like me a couple years ago, where you sat at the ETV desk, and it's really nice to realize that like the dreams that they always tell you are sometimes might only be dreams are attainable realities.
Yes.
So that's definitely something I.
But you can be at the same desk I'm at 10 years from now as well, easily. As long as you are willing to put in the work and do it from the heart, you will be there.
Yes.
When can people see you on Fox News, on FOX2 News?
Yes, FOX2 News, Monday through Friday. I anchor from 4:30 to 6 a.m. on our morning show, and then I go out and report for the rest of our morning show. So I'm basically on from 4:30 up until noon.
So the biggest question here, Josh, is how do you get up so early?
Well, I just got promoted to the morning show back in November.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That had marked 2 years at FOX2, and then I re-upped in November and got promoted to the morning show. I get to bed around 7, 8 o'clock at night. You get acclimated.
I get
with
it.
Yes, it's a lifestyle change. And I mean, that's another thing about this business. You work crazy hours, quote unquote. I mean, you get up at 2 a.m., you're into work by 3 a.m., you're on the anchor desk by 4:30, and then you're going nonstop.
Yeah.
Or you work in the evenings as a Hewlett Perkins, where you go in at 3 p.m. and then you don't get off until 11:30 midnight.
Okay.
It's all about the passion.
Well, in our closing moments, where do you still see yourself in Detroit? I'm not to put you on the spot. I know that, and Detroit's your hometown. Is your vision to stay in Detroit in the closing 15 seconds or so?
God willing.
Really?
God willing.
Good.
Yes.
No interest in going anyplace else.
I would love to say
Detroit is a great media town.
It is. And for me, it's about representing. It's about showing people who are in the neighborhoods, in the city, that, hey, you can do what I'm doing, or you can do something even greater if you choose to. So that's a big part of me coming back home, to doing my part. We all have to do our part, do my part in representing for the people in the city.
Well, Josh Landon, reporter from FOX2 News in Detroit, EMU alum 2006. We want to thank you very much. Keep up the great work. Let's make sure we continue to watch you.
Thank you. Right. Please do. Please
Absolutely. Well, that's it for this edition of EMU Today. We'll check you out next time.